We are coming to the end of the straight section. So a couple videos ago I pointed out one of the trees. That is this tree right here on the left lower corner of the screen. It's a little bit hard to tell, but what little bit of the trail remains just behind this clump of trees I'm just pushing on. The skid road itself actually curves up to the right a little bit. The direction I'm going to be heading is actually down to the left. Since we're nearing the west edge of the property, we're about 175 feet, I think, away from the west border of our property, and so we need to get this driveway to loop back down to the left. This particular little cluster of red alders was kind of a problem, actually. They didn't really want to move. There's some decent log furniture logs out of that, though. This one that just fell was probably 5 to 6 inches at the base and nice and straight for quite a ways. As I was moving them around, the tractor is a little bit rough on them, so some of them won't be as usable, but we'll still find uses or use it for smoking. It was kind of surprising how much basically like 3-inch minus gravel or 6-inch minus gravel was in here, crushed rock. A lot of it I just left, but there actually were 2 of the bigger rocks that I've found were just up here a little further. So once I get rid of this cluster of trees that I'm digging at right now, on the far side of that tree is the pile of the old burn pile, and that's the section that I had mentioned previously that I forgot to grab the GoPro. So when we pick back up on this road development, there's a section of about 20 feet that don't have much footage of, or don't have any footage of. I think I walked around with just the cell phone and kind of tried to show. We'll have to see what footage is there. I don't remember, to be honest. I just kind of take the next chunk, throw it in here, tweak it, and see what I've got. I did take a pause from the road development. We've got we call it our pavilion area. It's where we've got plans to have like a pizza grill or a wood-fired oven. We plan to have a barbecue pit big enough to roast a hog. We plan to have a nice big fire pit and lots of benches and things. There's a 10 by 20 shed there that's going to be open on the back end, so it'll be a pavilion basically, and it'll just be kind of an entertaining area, so that you can actually see one of those big rocks just right there. I'm gonna have to mark that with an arrow, but anyway, sorry. So we started working on that area last fall, at the end of last summer, and I got pretty far at kind of working the ground to get it to where I wanted, but I did not get it done in time for the rain, so I had to dig an emergency trench to make sure that other areas didn't get flooded. And I realized this is an evergreen blackberry, which is still considered a weed in Washington. However, it's not as common as the regular blackberries, as the sorry, not the regular blackberries, but the Himalayan blackberries, which are what most of the blackberry bramble that you see here is. The evergreen blackberry is not as sweet as a Himalayan, so it's not a cultivated blackberry, but I think it's got a richer, better flavor. So I definitely didn't want to pass that up. Anyway, as I was saying, so the pavilion area, I had to dig an emergency trench, and I almost got stuck like 4 times just trying to get that ditch dug so that the water had somewhere to go without flooding out the shed and the pavilion itself. And that took probably till mid-July before it was actually dry enough for me to actually do anything, but by then I was working on the driveway and clearing for the house and barn and carport sites and all of that fun stuff. This area here was actually quite a challenge. You can see how dark that mud is. It turns out there's a runoff here on the right. This little sorry, I was trying to remember why I was going back. I realized I need a lot of dry dirt, and there's a section. I'll come back through and mark that. Starting here where I'm digging, going forward about 25 or so feet. That is a little bit high, so I figured, well, if I go dig that down, that's going to give me several buckets, quite a few yards of material that I can put down on top of this wet mud and hopefully help get that to be solidified. So that's what I'm working at here. But this little runoff actually has a little bit of standing water left in it still, and it's the end of August, so I'm hopeful that there's actually a spring up there somewhere. We might be able to, if we can find that and tap it, then that would be awesome, and we would have a good water source. However, I'm fearful that it's going to be like all of the other places where I thought there was a spring. It's just underground snake holes, gopher holes, whatever, mole holes, and they get flooded in the winter. They just get waterlogged and continue to drain. As soon as I go and cut one of them out, it drains almost immediately, and then I have no idea why I got back onto the backhoe right there. But as soon as I cut any of those that I think might be a spring, it turns out they're just drain holes filled, animal holes, things like that. So I'm afraid that's probably what this one right here on the right is going to be. We'll see. Either way, once there's a drainage ditch on the side of the road here, then if it is a spring, we'll find out. And if it is a drainage ditch, then we'll find out. So at this point, like I said, I'm just trying to keep things smooth as I back drag there, and then I come pick up a new scoop and drive forward, and trying to just build this up enough that I can maneuver it. And I thought I would try and see if this would work to move with the bucket. It did not work very well. There's an awful lot of rock there, and the bucket tends to not like that. Someday I might get me a tooth bar for the bucket. To see if that'll help with some of the digging, but I haven't decided if it's actually worth the money to do that, since I have access to a backhoe, and that does a far better job of digging than the bucket ever will. And right there on the left is that blackberry bramble is covering the slash and burn pile that's been rotting. It's definitely a passable driveway. There's all my little collections of rock. Like I was saying, rock is a little bit of a rare thing. And that's one of the things in the pavilion area that you'll see over the next few videos is what I'm doing with all the rocks, because it takes a lot of rock apparently to build a rock wall, a little bit of a retaining wall. If this pavilion area turns out even half as amazing as it is in my head, then it'll be a sweet little entertaining area. In fact, I just moved most of these rocks yesterday. So clearly Emily showed up and we went to walk and show her the progress and spent some time. That's where the drainage is. She was just as amazed as I am that there's still some standing water and lots of mud there. Then we walked around and talked about the route things are going to go. And to be honest, I totally forgot that the camera was rolling. It's kind of a nice view here. It just shows where, like, it just, we love the property here. This has been such a godsend and such a blessing to have this 30 acres that we've got. There's nothing that we don't like about it. And the crazy thing is that this was on the market for over 3 years when we finally made an offer on it. And a lot of the people, the complaints that we heard from like the neighbors and such were things like the lower portion is too swampy, it's too steep of a hill, it's too close to the highway, the forest isn't usable. That's something we hear a lot. A lot of people have the idea that the forests aren't any good unless they're Doug fir, because that's the commercial forest, which I beg to differ. Forest has far more uses than just commercial lumber. So here I was sharing a Marco Polo with some friends and was just kind of showing them the progress, giving them a bit of a heads up, and I walked off. I took the keys and I totally and completely forgot that there was a GoPro going. And I got almost all the way to the camper and realized that I had to come back and get the GoPro. So I left this in here because I just thought that was funny and somewhat typical of my ADD brain. But on the next one, like I said, we'll start working on showing you the pavilion area and what we've been working on there. So thank you for watching. God bless, and hope everybody out there has a wonderful day.